12 different publishing imprints for Malibu Comics. What do we have up there? There's Eternity, there's Malibu. So how did we end up having, we're talking about 4 guys, well, more than 4 guys at this point, but still a small company. How do we end up having so many imprints and brands under one roof?
You'd be surprised how easy it is.
When we say Malibu started with the esteemed books that were up a few minutes ago, Eternity came a little bit before Malibu as well.
Yeah.
So, but you kind of go with perceptions, reality. People eliminate Malibu, but it was really all melded into one. I looked long and hard for what the launch book would be for Eternity Comics, which means I had no idea about publishing. I wasn't looking for doing anything. I had no money, and it never even occurred to me. I had some creators approach me. It was Ron Lim, the artist, and an editor, and a couple others. And they said, will you please publish Young Ex-Mutant Samurai Humans? And I said, I don't know how to publish. He said, yes, but you've been doing mail order for years, and you were always picking winners. I said, I was picking winners, though, because I would call comic creators up, like no one else would, and said, hey, are you killing anyone, changing costumes? Being fired and replaced by someone is really cool. I said, that was how I really did it. And I said, and how desperate are you? We've never published a comic. I think people know we have no money, but maybe you don't, but that was when distributing before publishing. And bad business. So that. Anyway, and they said, just read it. So I'm like, all right. And then I went, damn it, it's good. Now, I define good as, well, I like pop stuff. So I don't necessarily always expect to get like Emmy Award-winning things. Which was why I was surprised on the New York Times bestseller list to get Cowboys and Aliens, which I didn't know for 3 months. I never checked it because I figured.
Nobody reads the
Seems an
content.
unlikely place to find yourself,
Yeah.
doesn't it, Scott?
And it was before the movie came out. I mean, never occurred to me. So we published Ex-Mutants, but one of the things that happened is we told the creators that we can't lose money. And I said, now understand what I'm saying. It's not that I don't want to lose money. We can't. It's impossible. And credit cards won't go that high. So I said, it's going to be the highest priced comic on the market. It's going to be black and white. I have a $400 advertising budget. And just to be humble, we were all good. Of course, there wasn't many we at the time. But anyway, we is always a nice, strong word. And just to get the discount, I knocked off 3 of the words in the title. So it left off with Ex-Mutants. And it was a huge hit. I think we sold 80,000 of the first printing, and then we did his special edition for the sold out first printing, which I believe we solicited prior to actually knowing the first one was going to sell out. But it did. So we ended up selling 130,000 comics that had a break-even point of a few $1,000s.
That's amazing. I mean, sales of that today, you'd be happy, right?
That's the boom.
Yeah.
And the creators were thrilled. Remember, we told them our deals. We were thrilled and helped launch us a bunch of other titles that all went on to do that. Our worst seller, one of our worst sellers went to that, believe it or not. And so anyway, that's where that was founded. And a comment to something that the old GM said. When he said quantity, which is sometimes dangerous, what we would do, because we had no money, is you solicit for 4 months in advance. We figure out how much our payroll and everything was going to be that month. And we then figured, all right, how many comics do just a few of us? I think there were 4 at the time. When we first started doing that?
There may be 5.
Okay, yeah. And we, at one point, was 39, 40. I mean, we were just 4 of us. And we published 39 or 40 comics in that particular month. Remember, once I heard I could do 2. But we had a great staff. I mean, we had no turnover.
It was the magic number theory of business. Here's the magic number to get hit for this month.
It was the only possible number.
Right. We can't go below that number.
Well, it's good too, because even though the market crashed, it crashed in a stable way. We can almost predict exactly for a couple of years what the number 1 would be, what the number 2 would be, what the number 3 would be, what the number 4
But then,
And we knew it would be misunderstood.
Well, you guys never tumbled to my idea of numbering the comics backwards. That's, I think, the one crazy thing you never did.
We argued about this
What
incessantly.
did you
Yeah.
try?
Because number 1 outsold number 2, which outsold number 3, so start with number 4 and go backwards.
We wanted to do a 3-issue miniseries. It was -1, 0, and 1.
There you go.
We couldn't convince ourselves that it was a good idea, because that was the only thing that nobody had done yet.
Just one of many gimmicks introduced by the brilliant Vice President of Marketing, Tom Mason, and his cohorts here. Bullet hole cover for Protectors, of course, is well known, but also there's like a 1/2 issue up there, gold foil editions, hologram covers.
I don't think that was my idea. Because a lot of the stuff that we did came from the printer, because the printer had, we would call the printer up. And
What funky stuff did you do to your?
well, what do you do for other clients in other aspects of your printing business that you don't normally do? And the guy says, well, I got a drill press. And we said, what do you do?
Not kidding, that's exactly
What do you do with a drill press? And he says, well, I can punch a hole and stuff. And I think, I don't know who it was first, but you see all 4 of us go, you can punch a hole and stuff.
Let's feel the carrot.
What can we do?
And if it sounds stupid,
Right.
it probably came from
How
me.
much does it cost to punch a hole and stuff? How hard is it? And it's not difficult at all. Just when the stuff rolls off the press, there's a machine that just punches the hole right through.
And can there be like little splattery stuff around it? And
Yeah.
the answer is no, we don't have to color
Yeah,
it.
can we, if we do it right, can we aim the hole where we want it?
We missed.
Yeah, it goes through. I used to think it went through the story.
No one ever caught us.
But it doesn't. It actually cuts off panels and stuff.
Yeah.
It only looks cool on the cover.
It was the best sell-through comic on the newsstand we had had. I don't know if you know about the wonderful newsstand market, but the distributors throw away 80 to 85% of what you send out. It's just the norm. And we were one of the few companies that actually figured out how to make money off of the newsstands, which was actually having someone monitor all 20,000 newsstand chains and actually go over their numbers.
And we pissed the guy off too, because apparently there was a bullet hole cover that came out from an independent company like 2 months before ours. And he was totally pissed because we said we had done it first. And he said, no, I did mine first. And well, we couldn't call back all the press.
Yeah.
But we announced it first.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's in Scotland.
And it's an important distinction too. I think it's right after who actually created the Fantastic Four and Galactus. It's like who really pioneered the bullet hole cover. That's, I mean, that is one of the burning issues.
It's important that that get down.
The thing about the industry at this time, though, is that you think that you're making comics for the fans, but we were actually, our customers were the retail stores who were buying from the distributors. So they would look at something like a gimmick, and they might laugh it off, say, that's stupid, and they'd order 5 more. And 5 more across all those retail stores, then we'd double our sales.
Yeah.
So they were our customers, and Tom
In our press.
and Scott in particular was excellent at understanding what the way those guys thought and how to, get them excited about new stuff.
And so clearly they helped Malibu's cash flow position to, have frequent number 1s and resets and miniseries and all the things that we did.
Well, that's why doing miniseries, right? Is that
Yeah.
Do a 3-issue miniseries and you can start over if it's successful, do another one with a new number 1, because number 1's always, what was it, 3 times, 4 times? What was it, new number 1?
Well, we knew we'd lose money by number 5.
Yeah.
So in the long run,
Predictable. Absolutely predictable. We actually had a series where it was nothing but number 1s.
Change the subtitles.
Yeah, we changed the subtitles every issue.
Because
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Every single one was a number 1.
the thing that was true is that the retailer was our customer, but also because the retailer bought on a non-returnable basis. So if he didn't sell the stuff that he bought, he got stuck with it. And he would feel
Take it
bad.
out with us next month.
Yeah, he'd feel bad towards us. So the idea was not to piss off the main customer. So anything we could do that would help the retailer sell that stuff and help it walk out of the store, we would try.
And we had personally called 6,000 stores. I know I actually talked to 6,000 stores once, and it sounds like a little bit of work, but there was no internet at the time. But what we cared about is the owner, yes, for business deals, but really the guy behind the counter.